Hey there, VC. How we doing? Adam here from the Freight. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. I wanted to take a minute and come to you with a video and talk about something that I think is really interesting. It was interesting to me, and I think may be interesting to you. It is the new mobile fidelity one step of Bitches Brew. I pre-ordered this when it came out. I really do love the record, Bitches Brew, and I want to do. I did a little bit of a shootout, and I want to talk to you about the results. I shot it out with my original 2i Columbia early pressing. I think it's a first pressing actually, and I have some interesting things to share with you about this shootout. First, before I get into all those awesome details, please like and subscribe. Take a second to do that. It really helps me out. And keep doing some awesome videos for you guys. I'm really loving the new people that I'm seeing on board that are commenting and interacting. It's really been a blast. So welcome. Okay, first and foremost, I'm going to talk about each one and then get into the differences, the sound comparison, and my thoughts. This was interesting. So, first pressing, 2i Columbia. All right, let's go through what we got here. Let's take out the records. You can see we have really great copy of this. My copy of Bitches Brew is really nice, actually. My original is very, very clean. This is pretty much near mint. It really is. The jacket is probably VG, but the vinyl is very, very clean, and it plays very clean. I ultrasonically clean my records, so it's a pretty high quality listen. And this is, again, this was no slouch to compare it to. I want to show you the jacket. The original jacket here, so you can see there's a name up top, Rich Curtius. Richie, pal, I have your old Bitches Brew album, and it's phenomenal. Thank you for taking care of it so well, Richie. Yeah. See the gatefold. Unbelievable artwork. Bitches Brew, really the start of jazz fusion, rock fusion. We go through some of the personnel on here. Obviously, we have Miles on trumpet, Wayne Shorter, soprano sax, Lenny White drums, Benny Maupin bass, Chick Corea electric piano, Jim Riley percussion, Jack DeJohnette drums, Harvey Brooks Fender bass, Charles Alias drums, Dave Holland bass, John McLaughlin electric guitar, who's a monster. Anyway, so you get the idea. Seminal album, super important album in the history of jazz, really in the history of music. The places that this record goes is really special. And it was really the first to do these kinds of things, and definitely the first for Miles. I know A Silent Way kind of kicked it off for him, but this was the continuation of that, and that, you know, things would just go from there. So let me talk to you a little bit about why I wanted to get the one step, owning such a nice copy of an original. I got that original probably 5 years ago, maybe six, probably 5 years ago now. It was at the local. I paid around $70 for it back then. Again, you can see the vinyl's near mint. The jacket is probably a VG minus, but it's all intact. It's, you know, got decent colors on it and everything. It just has some wear. The jackets truly don't bother me that much as long as the records are in, you know, great condition like those are. That original pressing sounds amazing. 2i Columbia. Sounds really, really good. And it has big shoes to fill. This one step has big shoes to fill. Let me go through what you get in the one step now. Okay. Obviously, this is actually just for the record. I have some UHQRs and some Craft one steps, Impex one steps. This is actually my first mobile fidelity one step. I didn't have any mobile fidelity one steps. I never bought any. So this is the first mobile fidelity one step I've ever owned. So we got that. My number was what, 1050, because you know the numbers sound good. Let me show you what's inside. You get the there's what it's on the edges there. There's some cool stuff in here. This is nice packaging. I do like this packaging actually. Again, this is my first Mobile Fidelity one step, so I hadn't had experience with their particular packaging before. You get this, which is the, whoops, I'm going to show you that in a second. This is the, obviously the record sort of outer, but it's just in like it's not an actual jacket. It's just the artwork that you get in this form, sort of cardboard poster form, but it's the same as, you know, the original. Cool to have that though. What's really nice is look at this sort of art print that came with it. Beautiful, really cool print of Miles, you know, working on some art there. Awesome print. This was a really nice touch. I thought that was really cool, and it's a very high quality, you know, print. You can hear very thick stock. That was cool. I thought that was a really cool touch actually, and I was not expecting that to be in there. I didn't know that was going to be in there. So that was nice. So far so good. Awesome packaging. Now you see inside LP1, LP2. They come in these sort of beautiful black kind of matte jackets. The gold embossed writing. Really nice. You got the, you know, Bitches Brew cover on the front. Tells you the sourcing right here. I'll read it for you in case, actually, maybe I won't read it for you because it's small and I'm not going to struggle to read something because I am now old, as I have said many times in my videos. So, okay, you get the gist. Beautiful packaging, 2 LPs. They're 33 1/3, so you don't have to worry about the 45 thing if that's not your thing. So you get, just like the original is 2 LPs, 33 1/3. This is 2 LPs, 33 1/3. And let me show you the vinyl here. Obviously, you have the MOFI inners. And let me show you the vinyl. This vinyl's thicker for sure. You know, you have that. Although I will note, this is, I think, one of the only one steps that didn't use the super vinyl, the MOFI super vinyl. They actually tested both, and they found that the black vinyl sounded better than the super vinyl, which is interesting for this particular record. So they went with the black vinyl because they thought it sounded better. Here's the label. Make sure I'm holding that the right side. Yep. Beautiful, flat, heavy duty, pressed at Fidelity. Man, are they doing awesome things. I've said that many times. They're incredible over there. And now I've actually worked with them firsthand with our band because they pressed our record and they're in the process of finishing it up. And they are amazing to deal with too. What an amazing process they're running over at Fidelity Pressing Plant. Okay, so there we have the presentation. Now, I'm going to talk about some different aspects of this. One aspect that I think is really important is cost, okay? So my original here, okay? Where are we here? Where's my outer? There's my outer. My original that I bought like 5 years ago at my local, I paid $70 for. You can see this is probably a VG outer jacket, okay? But the records are truly right at near mint. They're right there. And they sound beautiful too. So I paid $70 5 years ago. Now to get a near mint copy, vinyl copy, I was looking on Discogs this morning just to make sure I was kind of up to date. You're not getting a near mint vinyl of original 2i Columbia of Bitches Brew for less than, I think it was like, the cheapest one I saw was like 130 euro or something like that, which is a little more US anyway, which is where I am. So you're already talking about one step level money. So I think that's really interesting. I think that's really interesting and worth noting. That is, obviously we know the Discogs median just is what it is, but I was actually looking at ones that were for sale and ones that had sold recently, and that does seem to be right in the ballpark. That was like the lower end, 130. They went up to 200, really. Some of the near mint ones with near mint jackets or very good plus jackets or whatever. So I think it's really important to know, to think about that, right? Let's say you're in the market for Bitches Brew. You want to get an awesome copy of Bitches Brew. Do you want to spend 130 for a copy like mine, which is probably what something like this would go for? I bet my copy would probably go for like 130 to 150. That's what I guess mine would go for because the vinyl's in such good shape and it sounds so good. I would say probably 130. If I were to sell it, that's probably what I would sell it for or ask for it. Seeing where the prices are now. Or we have the one step with all the things that I just showed you. That was 125. Yeah, 125 I think is what I paid for it. Yeah. Now it's an expensive record. Now and there are reissues you can get too. I haven't listened to any of the reissues. I don't have any of those to compare it to. I'm just talking about the original that I have and this one step that I have. Those are my only two reference points here. So I can only refer to those. I did some extensive listening on these. I really did. The last 3 days, there's been a lot of Bitches Brew in my house. Back and forth listening. And what I can tell you is the original is freaking excellent. It really is. The original, I think, really comes close to the one step. These are not worlds apart. I'm going to say it now just to put it out there. To my ears, the one step is better. 100%. There's really no questioning it. However, the original is excellent. It's an excellent recording. This is not a slouch record. This is recorded really well, and it sounds amazing. I'll give you some characteristics of the original. It's very excellent soundstage right off the bat. The low end on the original is actually one thing that I slightly prefer to the MOFI. I think the low end, just the bass, I slightly prefer the original over the MOFI. And then, the other things change where I prefer the one step as I move on, but I will say that I do think I prefer the bass response in the original. It just has a more organic sound. It's tough to put into words. It has a more organic thing, and I actually think that with a lot of Mobile Fidelity recordings. I feel like Mobile Fidelity's the way what's the mastering engineer over there, Krieg Wunderlich, and there's someone else too. The way that I've heard the MoFi records, their bass always to my ears has this response that it's like a trace of something that's unique to them. I don't know how else to say it. It's like a unique little sound signature that they have in their low end cutting of their masters. And it's not a bad thing. It's just unique to them. And I prefer, and some of other people might prefer the bass on the one step. They're comparable. It's literally just a flavor thing. I prefer the original flavor of the low end to my ears, to my taste. It's a touch more organic for what I'm hearing. So right off the bat, I mean, you're dealing with a very high quality original recording. So, okay, let's move up the frequency range. Moving to the mid-range, this is where the separation really happens for me. The mid-range on the one step is substantially better. You hear this kind of, on the original, you hear that kind of, on some of the quieter tracks, you get a little bit of that note that comes out from Miles' trumpet. You can kind of hear it before it happens, a touch when you turn up the volume on some of the quieter tracks. You don't really get that in the one step. The one steps, it's just really nice. The one step separation, the one step mid-range of the trumpet, and especially the electric piano and the guitars, they have a more enhanced clarity level than the original. and it really lends itself to a pleasurable listen, which leads me sort of to tie right. I might as well go right into the high end. The high end is a bit more defined in the one step for sure. The ride cymbals, and the shakers and the high percussions and things like that, and even Miles' trumpet when he goes way up there. Those are all better defined in the one step for sure, undoubtedly. The soundstage is remarkably similar, actually. I didn't feel like the one step was significantly wider or deeper than the original. I felt like the original held its own in soundstage for sure. So I thought the staging was very comparable. Um, Overall, the one step was better. There was no disputing that to me. The clarity, the space that the instruments lived in was clearer. On the original, it's a little more, the stage is still big, but the instruments are a little more harder to define, but that's too harsh of a way to put it because they're still distinct. You can hear them everywhere, but it's just in the one step, there's that next level of separation and depth. So the one step definitely, was better in that regard. Again, however, the original was a great listen. I think there's one or two other spots that I think are big key difference makers for me. And this is really interesting. On my system, and I'd be curious to hear if anyone else has the same kind of thing to compare to. So going back and forth from the original to the one step. The original is like 3 dB hotter, louder than the one step. The one step is cut quieter. Not even a doubt about it. I don't have any doubt in my mind. I measured it with my phone just to confirm what I was hearing because I knew I was hearing it. Every time I switched, the one step was just a little bit lower in volume. And I think that was purposeful by the mastering engineers who cut the one step. I think they picked up on some harshness that was in the original 2i Columbia, because if you listen on my system, if you listen to that all the way through, there is some moments of harshness, and fatigue's the wrong word. It wasn't fatiguing, but it was like, and I know a lot of that is system dependent, but no matter what system you would listen to it and on, I have very little doubt that you wouldn't notice some kind of frequencies poking out, especially in the upper range with the original. And whether that caused fatigue or not is probably system dependent. However, my point is you would notice those frequencies peaking out at certain points. There's no doubt in my mind. And that the one step completely tames that. It is a more pleasurable listen from beginning to end. The response of frequencies is just blended better in the MOFI. It's a more, the background is like significantly more silent in the mobile fidelity pressing. It's the music kind of just has its own black space that it lives in, significantly more noticeable than in the original. So, what does all this mean? You guys have to decide that for yourself. If you're looking for a copy of Bitches Brew, do you want to go with an original? And you'd be spending the same or more money to get near mint vinyl at this point of Bitches Brew. That's just the reality. I've heard some people talk about the Quadio mix from the 70s being excellent. I heard Jason Rojas say that. I've not heard a Quadio mix from the 70s. Those records are, again, approaching $90, $100 last time I checked. So again, you're apples to apples, kind of, but you're talking about the price going up when you could spend, if you're serious about getting a really nice copy, you could spend $125 and get a guaranteed lights out pressing of this record that sounds amazing with a black background that has everything where it should be. That is a fantastic representation of such a classic album. I prefer this. If I go back to listen to it, this would be my go-to first. However, I would have no problem going back to the original and listening as well. It is a little bit of a different flavor. And I will say that I could totally see some people preferring the original. It is a little bit of a different flavor. But if you have a near mint original, um, you still have a great album. You still have a wonderful sounding record. So super interesting one step in my mind. I prefer the mobile fidelity. There's no question about it. I prefer the mobile fidelity. It took some deep listening for me to fully get there because, like I said, I do slightly prefer the low end of the original. But that's really where it ends. The more I listened, the more the differences became clear to me of the mid-range. The way things lived in the space was better. The black background was better. The way the music came out and was presented was more balanced and better. So yeah, we're not talking about a slouch here. This was close in my book, but the one step is better. And, in my mind, worth the money if you're considering an original compared to the one step. So there you have it. There's my shootout with the original. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear about this if you have experience with similar copies. And maybe there's a reissue that you guys love that you want to talk about that could cost you less money that might be satisfied with. Either way, it's a great sounding record. It's an important record, and it's one worth having in your collection if you're into that kind of jazz fusion thing. This is really the start of it, and one of the most important records for that reason. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one. Please like and subscribe and leave your comments, and let's have a conversation about it. All right. See you soon. Peace.